Calling to order this evening's council meeting. Today is December 18th, and this is our regularly planned voting meeting on the third Wednesday of the month. So let's start out with a roll call, please. Before we get started, what I would like everyone to do is make sure that your microphone is on and off when you're talking. I did talk with somebody last night, and they really are struggling hearing us if we don't have our microphones on. Okay. Thanks. All right, roll call, please. Where'd Steph go?
She stepped out from
fixing. You might not be able to hear. There's a crazy echo right now.
Yes.
So I think Steph just went to see what.
Oh. All right.
They're working on it.
No worries. I won't talk quite as loud and it won't echo as much.
Councilmember Shimolowski.
Present.
Councilmember Cerna.
Here.
Councilmember Barton.
Here.
Councilmember Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Fry.
Here.
Vice President Kingsley.
Here.
President Sokolowski.
Here.
Mayor Aronson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a robust agenda tonight. Next item is Council President announcements. I have no announcements this evening, but I will open the floor to the public if there's any public comment for agenda items this evening that we want to start with. Okay, hearing no public comment in the audience, does anyone have any public comment or anything related to the agenda items that you received on email? Brittany, that goes for anything that came into the office either. Thank you. Anything from council? Okay. All right, hearing no public comment, we'll move right on to the first item of the agenda, which is land use matters, public hearings and ordinances. This evening we'll be considering approving a resolution 2024-32, which would be approving preliminary and final land development for 127 East Elm Street. Mike, Mr. Peters, would you mind talking about the stipulations of the approval resolution for us, please?
Sure. This is the application of Cooper Winery LLC and Pie Myrrh LLC. The resolution as presented would approve the request for preliminary and final approval, subject to the following conditions. One, the applicant would be granted the requested waiver from SAUDO Section 22-403.C8 to permit a ramp and landing in the East Elm Street right-of-way near Ash Street. That condition is subject to the approval of PennDOT for the obstruction. Two, the applicant would be granted the requested waiver from SAUDO Section 22-404.2E and 404.3.F7 to permit a drive aisle width for two-way traffic with 90-degree parking of 14.5 feet instead of the minimum required 24 feet, subject to the final review and approval of the borough's traffic engineer. Applicant would be granted the waiver from SAUDO Section 4043F to permit parking to not be separated from the edge of the sidewalk by a 10-foot wide planting strip, subject to the review and approval of the borough. Applicant would be granted the requested partial waiver from SAUDO Section 22-405.1F to permit an alternate material to concrete for the internal pathway to be installed from the patio to the pickleball courts, subject to the review and approval of the borough engineer and borough commercial building inspector. Number 5, the applicant would be granted the requested waiver from SAUDO Section 22-409.2 to permit grading within 3 feet of the property lines and rights-of-way. Number 6, the applicant would be granted the requested waiver from SAUDO Section 22-410.4B2 to permit downspout and conveyance piping of less than 8 inches rather than the minimum permitted 18 inches, subject to the review and approval of the borough engineer. 7, the applicant would be granted the requested waiver from SAUDO Section 22-410.4.C5 to permit a clean-out instead of a manhole or inlet where the roof drain intersects the storm pipe between sump box 1 and inlet 1, subject to the review and approval of the borough engineer. Applicant is granted the requested waiver from SADO Section 22-421.4 to permit 9 street trees, to permit the street trees to be planted less than 5 feet from the property line along East Elm Street, and to permit street trees within the right-of-way of Ash Street, subject to the condition that the street trees shall be maintained by the property owner. Number 9, applicant would be granted the requested waiver from SADO Section 22-421.5 to permit screening of non-residential uses of less than 6 feet in height, specifically to permit screening along the road frontage of 4 feet, subject to the final review and approval of the borough. Number 10, the applicant would be granted a partial waiver from SADO Section 22-804 as necessary to permit park recreational space as shown on the plan prepared by Shot Group dated December 3, 2024, which is attached as Exhibit B to the resolution. Final design of the park and recreational space, as well as the rules and regulations regarding the public's access thereto, shall be subject to the review and approval of the borough. It is anticipated that the park recreational space will include seating areas, plantings, and a butterfly garden. 11, applicants shall negotiate and pay a fee in lieu as a contribution toward providing public sidewalk along the west side of Ash Street to the trail. Provided the fee in lieu is paid, applicant shall have no obligation to install the sidewalk, and should the borough install the sidewalk, applicant shall have no liability with respect to the sidewalk. Number 12, applicant would be granted the requested waiver from your stormwater management ordinance, section 19-303.3.A3, from the volume control infiltration requirements based upon environmental site assessment phase 2 findings, conditioned upon final testing and the provision of additional information to the satisfaction of the borough engineer. Number 13, applicant shall comply with all comments in the review letter dated September 20th, 2024, prepared by the borough engineer. Number 14, same thing with respect to the review letter dated September 5, 2024, by the borough zoning officer. Number 15, same thing with respect to the review letter dated September 17th, 2024, by the borough fire marshal and borough commercial building inspector. Number 16, same thing, compliance with the review letter dated September 17th, 2024, the borough traffic engineer. And 17, applicant shall comply with the MCPC review letter dated August 3, 2024, to the extent required by the borough. 18, applicant shall comply with all conditions imposed in the zoning hearing board decision issued for the project. 19, applicant shall investigate and implement sound dampening measures to the satisfaction of the borough. 20, applicant shall ensure appropriate ADA accessibility and compliance through the property and project to the satisfaction of the borough. 21 and 22, applicant shall execute stormwater operations and land development and escrow agreements. 23, applicant shall satisfy all outstanding invoices with the borough. And finally, 24, the applicant shall comply with all conditions of the resolution. The conditions imposed in this resolution have been reviewed by the applicant, and they have confirmed that those conditions are acceptable. So if you're inclined this evening, you could approve the resolution as drafted. Sure.
Anyone have any questions related to the 24 conditions before making a motion? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2024-32, approving the preliminary final land development for 127 East Elm Street?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda under Land Use Matters, Public Hearings and Ordinances is to consider authorizing advertisement of the Veterans Memorial Plaza Ordinance. Any questions on the ordinance related to the Veterans Memorial Plaza?
Just to reconfirm, I didn't see in the design, the family statue anywhere. That is, just to be 100% certain, that is included in that.
That is correct.
Okay.
And this resolution is specifically to designate the one-way street and the U.
Not the one-way street, so.
To create the U and then also to create the public plaza area.
Public plaza area.
Yeah, so the specific design details are not in here only because it's the attachment to the ordinance.
And again, you're authorizing advertisement, which means then it'll be advertised and then it'll be back on your agenda for a hearing and then for a vote. So there'll be time for any public input again during that process.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right, hearing none, could I have a motion to authorize the advertisement of the Veterans Memorial Plaza Ordinance?
I'll make
I'll-
that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I would encourage anyone that has any feedback or comments to please reach out to the council members or administration over the next couple weeks so that we can get full input related to this project. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. So this evening, we need to approve and adopt the November 6th and the November 20th regular meeting minutes and the November 6th special meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve November 6th and 20th regular meeting minutes and the November 6th special meeting minutes?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to approve the November ending treasurer's report and accounts payable. If so inclined and no questions, I need a motion to approve November ending treasurer's report and accounts payable in the amount of $2,330,424.65.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to approve and adopt the fiscal year 2025 budget. Did we have any questions related to the budget that came in to anyone? Anything come into administration? Okay. Hearing no questions and no concerns, could I have a motion to approve and adopt the fiscal year 2025 budget?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to approve and adopt Ordinance 07-2024 to levy real estate tax for 2025 and fix the rate thereof. Any questions related to the tax? Okay, could I have a motion to approve and adopt Ordinance 07-2024 to levy real estate tax for 2025 and fix the rate thereof?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next section of the agenda is our unfinished business. First item under unfinished business is to consider approving and authorizing advertisement of the 2025 meeting schedules for the Borough Council and Borough Boards and Commissions. Any questions? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve and authorize the advertisement for the 2025 meeting schedules for council, boards, and commissions?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Just taking a breath. Next item on the agenda is to consider reappointing applicants to our borough boards and commissions. I will read off the applicants, and then I'll be looking for a motion. So I'll be looking for a motion to reappoint Dominic Rocco to the EAC, Richard Kosick to the EAC, Justin Claffey to the EAC, Deborah Stovall to the Human Relations Commission, Daniel McArdle to the Planning Commission, Holly Hulse to the Vacancy Board, Rick Barton to the Zoning Hearing Board, Tyler Dunphy to the Zoning Hearing Board, Marissa Buck to the Friends of Conshohocken Parks. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
I have to recuse myself.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, and Ms. Barton is recusing herself from the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And just for the record, Ms. Barton, your recusal was based on your husband Rick's appointment to the
Correct.
zoning hearing board, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along, next item on the agenda is to consider approving the fee schedule for 2025. Any questions related to the fee schedule that was presented at last meeting? Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the 2025 fee schedule?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving Resolution 2024-33, setting compensation for the elected tax collector for the Borough of Conshohocken. Any questions? All right, hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2024-33, setting compensation for the elected tax collector for the Borough of Conshohocken?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to consider authorizing the Montgomery County St. Patrick's Parade Committee to hold the 2025 Annual St. Patrick's Day Parade in Conshohocken. And the date of that parade is
March 15th.
March 15th.
Rain date of the 22nd.
And with a rain date of
Of
the
the 22nd.
22nd of March. Great. Okay. Any other questions related to the St. Patrick's Day Parade? Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to authorize the Montgomery County St. Patrick's Day Parade for 2025 to be held in Conshohocken?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to consider approving the 2025 Annual Punchy 5K Classic. So I'm looking for a motion to approve 2025 Fire Company Number 2's Annual Punchy Classic 5K Run.
And that's hosted on the same day as the St. Patrick's Day Parade. It will be on Saturday, March 15th. It starts at 12:30 p.m.
12:30?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving the appointment of a marketing consultant for 2025's fiscal year. So I'll be looking for a motion to approve the appointment of a marketing consultant for 2025, and based on our discussions, I'll be looking for a roll call vote on this actual item. So do I have a motion to approve and appoint a marketing consultant for 2025's fiscal year?
I'll
I'll make-
make the motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Oh, are you doing
Roll call.
For a roll call.
Councilmember Shemaleski.
Yes.
Councilmember Cerna.
Yes.
Councilmember Barton.
Yes.
Councilmember Elam.
No.
Councilmember Fry.
No.
Vice President Kingsley.
Yes.
President Sokolowski.
Yes.
The motion carries.
5 yeses, 2 noes for the record. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to consider selecting a marketing consultant firm for 2025's fiscal year. So we're looking for a motion to select and appoint Neff Marketing for the 2025 fiscal year to serve as the borough's marketing consultant.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And now we'll do a roll call. Tricked ya.
Practice. That was the practice vote.
Councilmember Shemaleski.
Yes.
Councilmember Cerna.
Yes.
Councilmember Barton.
Yes.
Councilmember Elam.
No.
Councilmember Fry.
No.
Vice President Kingsley.
Yes.
President Sokolowski.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And the motion is 5 yes, 2 no. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next item on our agenda is our new business section, and we will be conducting interviews for vacancies on a couple boards and commissions. First person that I will invite up to the podium is Rich Martin, and Rich is looking at joining the Planning Commission.
Rob Martin.
Rob Martin.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No worries, you're good.
That's your brother,
We're
right?
brother, right?
Rich
That's
is,
close.
Rich is your brother.
Maybe. Yes, definitely. I think I passed.
Well, you did pass because you sat there and waited for me to get it right. So
there we
very
go.
good.
Thank you.
Credit, that's not her fault. That's mine. Typo, I apologize.
No worries, you're good.
All right. So, Ms. Kinsley, would you like to
I'll give
start
it a whirl.
this? Thanks.
Hi, Rob. Good to see you again.
You too.
How about if you give a little explanation of your understanding of the Planning Commission and why you want to serve on that?
So my understanding is the Planning Commission is integral in making and maintaining the characteristics of Conshohocken Borough. It's a proud borough. There's a lot going on, and especially attending the Planning Commission meeting recently, very important to make sure the right things get passed and also the right questions are asked.
Yeah, I know you were there because I sat next to you at that
Yep.
meeting. So that was, and it is important because you do want to get it right. How about explain a little bit about your education and your background? You have some background with government in different places.
Of course. So I earned a dual master's degree in employment and labor relations as well as public affairs from IUP. A lot of my involvement with a lot of local governments has been through the union side as a union staff rep. I've been a union staff rep since 2016. I've negotiated union contracts with local governments as well. I've also taken a class in grad school that was focused more so on local government budgeting as well. That's really the extent of my experience from that angle.
So, and you lived in Conshohocken how long?
I've lived here since May or June of 2023.
About a year and a half.
Yeah.
What improvements or anything would you like to see in the borough? I know
So
it's kind
I like seeing the maintenance of that's taking place right now. I think one of the biggest things that I would like to see is continuance of affordable housing and apartments, and making sure that folks can afford a place to live. But I also like seeing, I mean, I live a block away from Guppies, and I like seeing the farmers markets that takes place right behind the hotel. So I want to make sure that we just continue keeping what we have that's good, and there's no need to fix what's wrong. Or I mean, no need to fix what's already right. Sorry.
Right. We understood. Anybody else have questions for Rob?
I do. Do you understand the reading of a plan?
I'm sorry. I don't have the one hearing aid in.
Okay, do you understand the reading of a plan?
Yes.
Okay. That's good, because not everybody does.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. And my, what I would like to do is, if I were to be appointed to the Planning Commission, I'd want to make sure that I look at the agenda, what's being offered during the meeting, and take plenty of time to read through what is being offered, along with prepping the questions too.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you for showing interest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob.
Okay.
Now we have.
Next one up is
Mr.
Mr. Walt Hartnett. Would you mind coming to the podium? And it looks like you have interest in either the Planning Commission, Human Relations, or the Friends of Petchy Parks.
Wherever you need me.
So that is a great answer.
I joined the Army. They let me do whatever. You know, they told me what to do. I'm good at following the orders like that. So,
Ms. Barton, do you want to take it
Where
away?
is your full interest?
well, the Planning Commission is the one that caught my eye, but the Parks and the Friends of the Parks Committee. Obviously, I had 4 kids who grew up in this area. I love what the parks are currently doing. I love the changes that have been there for the last 10 years, but I think, obviously there's still more to be done. So really, either one of those two, the HR one I just threw in there because that's more of my background, being in talent acquisition for Fortune 500 companies for the past 10 years.
And where do you see Friends as involvement in the borough?
So yeah, I love our parks. I love seeing how they've developed and changed. I love when I see parties going on at the parks. I love when I see the activities, the music, the bands, some of the other things. I think there is more that could be done with those parks. I think you could do a cornhole tournament. I think you could do more friendly events that are going on there. Obviously, I plan events all the time down the street here. So I think that there's a lot with the Friends of the Parks could be done. You know, I think some of it is the advertising that's talking about it. Like I was there today. I was like, oh, I didn't even know about the bench, that we could buy a bench, you know, and I'm going to talk to the V about it. Like, do we want to buy a bench at one of the parks? Because we've never, you know, I wasn't aware of it. It may be something we could even invest in. So some things like that I'm very interested in.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, talk a little bit about some of your fundraising experience with
I mean,
events.
10 years ago when I went to the VFW, we had $15,000 in our bank account. Right now we're sitting close to six figures, and we're a very, very well organized and profitable organization for what we have done down there. We help out numerous veterans in the community. I'm very proud of what we've done, and beyond that, I've taken it not just to what our VFW, but I'm also the district commander for the VFW. So I have 14 VFWs in Montgomery County that now report to me, and all of them now are showing a surplus when it comes to their fundraising activities. You guys see, I mean, well, I hope you guys see, I put a lot out on Facebook. I use social media. I've been using social media. For the VFW is finally catching up to us with what they're doing, but that was probably our biggest thing. People used to walk by our building and think you had to be a veteran to walk in, or they thought it was just a smoky club full of old Vietnam veterans. Mind you, we have the old Vietnam veterans. We're not smoky anymore, but they're in there. But we advertise the other things that we do as well, you know, for the community. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just opening our doors wide and having the availability. And after you do that, then people start investing and coming to you. So that's always been my mantra with the VFW, and would be for anything I encourage.
Any other comments?
Yeah, no,
Questions?
I'll just throw in, great job
Yeah.
with
Thank
the
you.
VFW. I mean,
Yeah.
we come there, you've seen me there with my kids and everything like that. It's awesome what you've done there. And I was one of those people who thought that's just for veterans, and that, you know, that I
Yeah.
shouldn't. It changed a lot of things, because my family loves coming there. My kids love going there for the Christmas cards and all the stuff that you guys do. It's a fantastic job you've done there. So kudos to that. If you could do anything near it with Friends of Conshohocken Parks, I think it would be a wild success.
Yeah.
So, Walt, when you're on a board and a commission for the Borough of Conshohocken, you're an advocate for the
Yes.
Borough of Conshohocken. Tell me how you manage folks that are not necessarily pro activities going on in the Borough of Conshohocken as an advocate of.
Yeah, I think advocacy is just speaking from the heart. If you truly believe in it, it's easy to be an advocate for something. You know, I fully believe, not everybody's going to agree with you. You know, I deal with that down the street. You know, I don't get 100% on everything, but they know what I believe, and they know why I'm believing it. I'm able to explain, this is the point of view and this is why I'm for it. And I think that's all you really have to do. Not everybody's going to agree with you. So at my job now with my boss, there's a lot of people who don't agree with her, but I always tell people when they sit down, you know, and talk, they understand at least she has a point of view, and it's not just a blind reason. And that's one thing I've learned from that office, is just stick to your convictions, understand why you're for it or why you're against it, and people will either, you know, understand, or, you know, they don't like you to be, they're never going to be on the side of you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're also interested in the Human Relations Commission. You said you had some background in human resources and recruitment. You want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I've been SHRM certified. Well, I'm not SHRM certified right now because I'm not in that role. My certification would have came up last October, and I just didn't renew it because in my role now it's not really needed. So I've worked, since I got out of the military, I worked in talent acquisition. I started being a headhunter. Then I started working at corporations. You guys can see the jobs I had there. I've worked for Siemens. I've worked for Merck, some very big Fortune 500 companies, always responsible for hiring, but I've always been SHRM certified. When I was at Siemens, I was the HR representative there, so I would have to go in for disputes and hear things out. Most of the time was just typing up a report for somebody hired to, but I sat in those things, and I would get questions from managers. Can I do this? What's this mean? You know, they're taking a vacation day every Monday. What can I do? And, you know, you have to know the regs and understand your own policies. So that's the only reason they kind of caught my eye. Like I said, it's my background. But, you know, I'll let this body kind of decide where I best fit. Or, you know, I think most of you all know me pretty well. I've been around. So I'll just encourage to serve and, yeah, be part of it.
Thank you. Well, thank you for stepping out. I know we talked about it a few weeks ago.
I know, was that his? Yeah.
We appreciate.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right, there's no
Just
vote
for,
this
you mind
evening.
if I, just for technicality, Stephanie, all three of these, right, he can't, or no one, I shouldn't just say just Walt, but can he serve on multiple, or can a person serve on multiple, or,
Yeah, for the planning commission, no. Some of the others, yes.
okay. So, right, that leaves Friends of Conchi Parks and Human Relations Commission, do they?
I do, Human Relations Commission, it would be fine. I can't recall what we put in the Friends of Conshohocken Park bylaws, but I think it would be okay. I'd have to take a look at the bylaws again.
Let's ask this question. Sorry, Walt, I know you've stepped off and sat down, but are you interested if we put you in two spots?
I could do so. I mean, I looked
Do you have enough time? Let's be real, like, let's be honest. It's a lot.
So, I'm no longer the commander down there.
Okay.
I still do a lot down there. And my term for my district commander is up in May, so I have a couple months left on that. So, am I gonna have a ton of free time yet? No. But at the same time, some days I have free up in my schedule. My kids are older now. My youngest is in seventh grade. I have two that are out, one that's junior in high school. So I do have the bandwidth. And I was looking at the schedule, see, and none of the dates are flexed to where, they're meeting on the same day or things like that. So I did take that into consideration when I was looking at it.
So we should fill your time before somebody else grabs it. I'll write that down.
Alan, I served on Planning and Human Relations Commission simultaneously as well, so that
Okay.
was, yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of just the,
I think,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just double
yeah.
check, so we're sure. Okay.
I need them to
All right,
send
looks
these.
like we're going to keep people busy.
And that vote's in January, right?
January.
January, okay.
All right. Thank you both, gentlemen. Next item on the agenda is an update on the 401, 433 Washington Street impact fee payments. So I'll turn the mic over to Mr. Peters to talk about the First Amendment.
Sure. So usually, you guys are kept out of this documentation. We handle it administratively, which you should be thankful for, because it is, I mean, if you read the document, this one's short. Our land development agreements are usually 30 to 40 pages long, single-spaced, and very dense. But the reason we're bringing it to you, and again, you usually wouldn't see this, is because in this particular case, there was a lack of clarity between the approvals for 401, 433 Washington. And you'll remember, it's a little unique because it was approved via court-ordered settlements in that case, and there were then two amendments to the court-ordered settlement. And in those documents, we set forth the fees that 401, 433 Washington is to pay to the borough. Those fees of particular interest to you are $300,000 in a traffic fee and $800,000 in a general park and rec general impact fee. Those impact fees in the original resolution, the $300,000 wasn't addressed. The $800,000 was contemplated as being paid as building permits were pulled. Building by building, you base the fee on the number of units. In the later amendments, we didn't specifically address that. And when we did the land development agreement, just because it was sort of cleanest, we put the entire payment, the entire $800,000 and $300,000 at the time the first permit was pulled. We got a request from the developer to reconsider that and to consider going back to the original stipulation, which was that it would be paid based on the number of units drawn for any given building. The developer informed us that that would make it more likely that the development would start quickly, which is what we want. So this amendment, and you're not voting on it, this is just an FYI, but I do want to answer any questions you have. The amendment would provide that the impact fee and the traffic fee are paid based on the number of units in each building, and we broke it out in the amendment by building and number of units, so there was no confusion as to what would be paid as each building permit is pulled. There is an outside date that was put on this. In the draft that you have, it was June 1. Steph and I had a call with them yesterday. They requested that the outside date be June 30th. Steph and I don't have a particular issue with that, so this would be amended to provide for June 30th, 2025 as the outside date. But because we typically, for your agreements, at least since I've started, require these payments at a lump sum, either at the time of recording or at the time that any building permit is pulled, we wanted to draw to your attention that this time we're doing it a little bit differently, but we have a reason, and the reason is that we've been informed by the developer that it will make it more likely that permits will be pulled sooner, which is what which is what we're after. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Again, you wouldn't normally see this, but for the fact that we're doing things a little differently than administration normally does it, I wanted to bring it to your attention. So I can answer any questions you might have, but you're not reducing the fee at all. You're just changing when the fee comes in.
So Mike, the impact fee was 1.4
Yep,
for
total.
the recreation piece of it.
Yeah, and remember, Tina, 600,000 of that is
Will
they're
come
they're
back.
actually doing the work.
Right.
Yeah.
So the 300,000 for the traffic impact, is that separate?
That's separate, yeah.
Okay.
So you'll see in the chart, Tina, that we put in here, there's each time there are two fees that'll be paid. Like for building one, which has 50 units, it would be a $95,000 in change impact fee and a $35,000 in change traffic
Got it.
fee. Yeah.
So instead of those fees going in every time a building goes up, it's going to be essentially monthly.
No,
Or-
it's going to go back to the way it was originally contemplated, which was the fees will be paid every time a building goes up. The way that we always set them up in your development agreements, since my office has handled them, well, not my office, since I have handled them, is that the entirety of an impact fee is paid up front when you record the plans or
Right.
when you pull any building permit.
Right. But it needs to all be paid by June, it only pays by
Yes.
June 2025, regardless of where they are in that process.
Exactly
So whatever's
correct.
left over is going to get dropped as a
You got it.
full fee. Okay.
You got it. Yep.
So they're really looking for a 6-month extension. to
Practically,
get
practically speaking, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean that moving forward, any additional projects that come in would be extended the same?
Not necessarily. I mean, a lot of these folks just want it done,
And
you
this-
know?
And this particular project is different because there were stipulations in a settlement agreement that was decided by a court. So there are distinct differences.
Yeah, and what happened, Ralph, was across those documents, those impact fees were not always treated the same way. So in fairness to the developer, what they're asking for is in line with what was originally proposed. Although that got lost, as you amended it along the way, that didn't really follow, but it was a fair request, so that's why we went along with it, because I understand why they're asking for it, and it was not unreasonable based on the way the approvals were issued. If you guys were doing it from the very, very start, you would probably have required it at the recording of plans. But what's being proposed here is fair, given the facts. Any other questions? There's no vote or anything.
Will there be a vote, or this is just
No,
an administrative function?
Yeah,
This
we
is
would
just
always handle it
informational?
administratively. It was odd enough that we thought we should bring it to your attention. And in your budget, I know Steph included this number, so you should know that throughout the year, the payments are going to come in, and then eventually they'll all come in at the end of June.
Any other questions
Did I miss
related?
anything, Steph? Okay.
Okay. Hearing no other questions or comments, thank you, Mr. Peters.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is to consider award the bid for the borough's annual fireworks display. So are there any questions related to the fireworks display?
Do we have a time run on what the proposal that they've given us and how long that's going to take to shoot off?
For the actual show
Yeah.
itself, I think it was 20 minutes, 25 minutes. 25 minutes is the plan. That's what they've proposed within the RFP. So just for the record, we did issue an RFP on November 21st. The RFP was advertised. We received one response to the RFP. That was Schaefer Fireworks. The response that they provided is within what was budgeted in your 2025 budget. And Schaefer does have a history with working successfully with the borough and our emergency services crew. So administration is recommending approval of the award of the RFP to Schaefer Fireworks for 2025, our annual fireworks show. And this does have a stipulation in the RFP that it will be a 3-year agreement. And given our history with Schaefer, we are recommending that we hold to that stipulation in the RFP as well.
And we will get what they've quoted in the agreement, even if the price of the fireworks go up, and
Well, you'll get what's quoted in the agreement for this year, 2025.
Okay.
And then there'll be an increase, as there is every year for 2026, 2027, 2028, or 2025, 26, 2027, if I can count. And yes, it'll be managed and included in your budget, so that you as council, what you have expressed interest in terms of having for your show is in fact captured in your budget.
Any other questions? Great. Hearing no other questions, do I have a motion to award the bid for the annual fireworks display to Schaefer Fireworks?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider ratifying 7 Tower Bridge loan payoff letter. Mr. Peters, do you want to talk to us a little bit about 7 Tower?
Sure. So this is sort of, I think a win-win situation. You had made a loan back out to 7 Tower Bridge when that project was approved, and that loan was originally part of a revolving loan that was paid back in, and then it went back out one more time for the development, and you had secured a mortgage against the property before the loan went back out. And this letter is the borrower proposing to pay the loan off early, which from the borough's standpoint is a good thing. The only thing you're losing is minimal interest, I suppose, but the payoff amount is $583,935. It would be a little higher than that at this point, because that was as of December 11th, 2024. But this letter, which staff has issued administratively, but we're asking you to ratify this evening, would provide the payoff amount, and then it also commits the borough to record any documentation that's required to strike the mortgage from the property. So what we're asking tonight is for ratification of this letter, and then Steph, did we also, an execution of any loan satisfaction documents that will follow. So they have paid early, and I understand from what I just asked Steph, it sounds like the wire, if it did not come through today, it should come through tomorrow, so the payment has actually been made.
And where does that $1 million go back to? Just our budget, or?
Your budget and your fund balance, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it does not have to go back out or anything. There's no more restrictions on it.
Okay, that was going to be my question.
Were you expecting this year? Where do we have it in our?
We were not expecting it. We were notified by the 7 Tower Bridge team that they were refinancing
Okay.
out of the loan.
How early is this? When was the loan supposed to mature?
There's
Maybe 5
5
years.
more years.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh. Okay. Cool.
And they had that money for quite a while, correct?
Yes, correct. This is not the first loan made to them with this money. You're exactly correct.
Any other questions?
This is the first time it was paid off a property.
All right. Hearing no other questions, do I have a motion to ratify the 7 Tower Bridge loan payoff letter?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And then E, I got ahead of myself, but it's the exact same thing. You're just authorizing Steph to complete the mortgage and loan satisfaction.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so the next item is to consider the authorizing to complete the mortgage and loan satisfaction documents for 7 Tower Bridge. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda is to consider approving Resolution 2024-34, approving an extension of temporary no parking area on First Avenue at the intersection with Harry and outdoor dining for a temporary basis in the area of Daniel's Restaurant. Any questions?
This is a 90-day approval. Sorry, that's a question.
It is a 90-day trial period, yes.
Which goes till
It'll be
90 days from
90 days
today.
from today.
Yeah.
from today? Okay.
Yes.
So,
And we are working, I guess it's important to note that Kurt from Daniel's Restaurant has requested that this temporary area become permanent. And we're working with him and our engineer and our solicitor to see if that request is possible, if it is a possible option in order to achieve a setup of that nature. Because we're in that assessment period, we can't say to you now whether or not that is in the best interests of the borough and Daniels to consider, so we need more time. We did start to dive into the topic last week from an administrative perspective. We did some brainstorming, but we're not there. We need more time to complete that assessment and come back to you. So this would extend that temporary setup as we explore available options to determine if his request to make it permanent is possible.
are we, so, okay, so I can't imagine many people are using the outdoor dining at this point. If it were to go permanent, would the structure look different? Would it anticipate that the structure would look different? Because what I'm hearing is that we're asking for a 90-day extension on something that probably isn't, I can't imagine with the weather, in heavy usage, unless, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Is that what's being asked, essentially say, this is what it's gonna look like, so I just wanna leave it there for the time being to offset the cost to actually design it later? Is that the thought process? Or did they elaborate on that, or did they not?
They haven't elaborated on what a permanent structure would look like, and I think that their cost is always an issue, so they're not going to expend something if it's not going to be permanent in nature, and we have to give them the proper advice in terms of what their options would be to make it permanent. So they have indicated that for their business, they feel like having that set up and being able to utilize it when the weather is available to be utilized is beneficial to them from a business perspective. And given the fact that we've received no complaints and have had no issues with it from a safety perspective, we are inclined, just like we do for other businesses in the borough, to think outside the box and offer this type of service on their behalf.
And it hasn't been there during a winter yet, right? So I think having it there to see how, even just having the obstruction there to see how it functions from a snow removal standpoint and stuff could be beneficial to the borough, because once it's made permanent, I think the only way to do it safely is to actually create some sidewalk area in there. So it'll be a permanent obstruction moving forward if it stays.
Does this open the door for other restaurants to come to us and say, hey, there's a couple parking spots out front of our building, can we put dining in there?
Sure. I mean,
Essentially.
yeah, sure. And the question is, in each circumstance, is that something you'd be willing to look at? Yeah.
I mean, you've invested heavily in parking in that specific area, and therefore,
Right.
just like we haven't stayed stagnant in other areas of operation and services that we provide in the borough, I don't think we would, if we had said no to other things over the last 10 years, we
Right.
wouldn't be where we are
Exactly.
today. And therefore, I think we owe it to our businesses, just like we did in COVID and just like we did after COVID, to evolve with them and give them kind of the ability to work within
Absolutely.
some flexibility.
Yep, thank you.
Steph, the owner of 7 Tower Bridge that we just talked about
Yes.
is the owner of the garage that we have a parking agreement with.
Correct.
That would be the only relationship we have left with that owner. Do we have any concern that that parking agreement would go away?
No.
No, it's a contractual
And
agreement.
it's,
yeah.
it's a agreement that's in place for a 10-year period.
Okay.
And when it is close to the end of that 10-year period, our intent is to revisit that topic.
One of the conversations that I've had with a senior recently, senior citizen, is that they can't really enjoy our restaurants because the handicapped accessibility and the accessibility for seniors that have mobility issues is hard in our borough. So if you can keep that in
Sure.
your thought process as you're planning, you know,
Of course. Happy to.
thanks. Any other questions or comments? Hearing no other questions or comments, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2024-34, approving a 90-day extension of temporary no parking on First Avenue?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving the final payment to Delos Construction Services LLC for the storage unit project at the community center. Any questions on the project?
No, it looks good.
Okay, hearing nothing, I need a motion to approve the final payment of $20,150 to Delos Construction LLC for the storage unit project.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving 401-433 Washington Street Financial Security Escrow Release, number 1, in the amount of $1,735,550.25.
So just to this, as we just discussed, the First Amendment to the Land Development Agreement, we are recommending release of the escrow in that amount of that 1.7 million. There is a stipulation in that release that it is contingent upon them posting a letter of credit for the impact fees that we just discussed. So their intent is, what we've negotiated is that we are going to release their 1.7 that we're holding in escrow for the development for work that has been certified as complete. We'll release that money, and it will be released once they post a letter of credit, which will hold the impact fees that they owe the Borough of Conshohocken in the amount of 1.1 million, and then they will submit those fees in the apportioned schedule that we provided in the First Amendment of the Land Development Agreement. So you are authorizing the release of the financial security, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that there is contingent upon them posting an additional letter of credit for the impact fees, which we just discussed. Good?
Yeah, it's just a double layer of guarantee for the borough, yes.
Questions? Okay. Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the Washington Street Financial Security Escrow Release?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to consider approving Matson Mill Professional Service Escrow Release number 1, which is the final release, in the amount of $56,595.76. Any questions? Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the Matson Mill Professional Service Escrow Release number 1?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving zoning escrow release for 325 East 10th Avenue and 226 Maple Street. Any questions on the zoning escrow release for either of those properties? Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve 325 East 10th Avenue zoning escrow release in the amount of $388.85 plus interest, and then 226 Maple Street zoning escrow release in the amount of $221.73 plus interest?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving a tuition reimbursement for Officer Walter for the 2024 fall semester. in the amount of $7,179.32.
I'll
And I
make
have
that-
a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Can't just look at people.
I know, my brain is talking inside. All right, that looks like that concludes all of the business items for this evening. Having all the business items addressed, do we have any public comment for this evening? Sure, come on up to the microphone, please. Do you mind
Hi.
just letting me know who you are?
I sure am.
Oh, thanks.
I sure can. My name is Tina Brunetti, and I just recently moved into, I'm renting a house at 11th and Fayette, 1022 Fayette, and I love living in town. However, the traffic, the speeding, it's not the traffic, it's the speeding. You guys, it's really bad. As I was coming here tonight, as I'm waiting for the light to turn, except a bus went right through the red light. Just moving on down the road. It's pouring out. It's not good. And I don't know when the last time y'all were sitting out there on Fayette Street, and where I'm at, they're coming up from North Lane, that intersection of North Lane and Butler, and they're just hauling ass. And they're coming up that hill because there's nothing there. And then the first light they see is 11th. And they're just moving. They're just speeding. So I would like to say, can we discuss this a little bit more next year? See what we can do, speed bumps, speed humps, untime the lights. I don't know. There's got to be something we can do.
So I live up near where you're at. I'm on 10th, right off of 10th. Kids all over the place there.
Yeah.
There's not I'm speaking for council here, but I don't think there's a person who's in disagreement that it has to be dealt with. And there has been discussion around some of the potential things that can be done to, one of them being a road diet, which was mentioned numerous times here that we've
Oh,
all
really?
discussed. Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So it's absolutely something that the group up here is heavily focused on.
Great.
Thank you for coming up and saying something,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is a heavy priority of everybody that sits up here.
Great.
Because we all recognize that, and you're 100% spot on. But welcome, by the way.
Thank you so much. It's great. It's very nice. Thank you. I'll be here.
And also, just so we've applied for 2 grants specifically for that road diet for traffic calming along Fayette. A $1 million grant and a $1.3 million grant. So if they come in and if we have further conversations where we're actually talking about this project again, we would love for you to come and support it.
Oh, I'm going to bring all the neighbors.
So if you can just make sure you give your contact information to Brittany, and then we'll contact you when it's back on the agenda so you can come and support the initiative.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Yeah, people will come. They will.
Great.
The other
Thank
thing
you.
that we've invested in is the lights replacements are all have the timer capability. So once everything gets kind of in sync, then there'll be more control over that. But Chief Lennon, would you like to just talk a little bit about some of your traffic mitigation programs that you do?
Sure. We conduct speed surveys within the borough, so we use technology to find out if people are actually going the speed limit, if they're not going the speed limit. And we put that into data that is measurable and actionable. So we take that data, we present it to our elected officials, members of the community, and then we react to that. So we use that as an enforcement tool. In our 2025 budget, we will be purchasing some more of that equipment to conduct speed surveys and help us in our enforcement efforts.
Thank you very much. Sounds great.
So it's on the list.
Good.
And we totally agree.
Very much.
Was it Tina?
Tina, yes.
Tina, I'm up on 12th, so
Okay.
close to you. Just so you know, local municipalities can't use radar on a state road.
Really?
It's something that the mayors in Pennsylvania have been advocating for, but it has to be passed at the state level. So we could use your help advocating with our state senator and representative as well.
I'll be
Yeah.
there. Absolutely. You got it. I'll be there.
Thank you for your.
Very much.
Thank you for coming in, Tina.
Anyone else have public comment this evening? Okay, hearing no public comment, we don't have any type-ins or emails, right, Britt? Okay. All right, Mr. Mayor, let's hear the good
Right.
stuff that's going on.
So our revamped Friends of Conchi Parks had a happy hour at the Conshohocken Brewing Company. 50-50 raffles, some food, really just trying to get the community engaging with the committee and understanding what they do, and hopefully coming out to future bigger events. Really a big thank you to Brian and the team for starting to get things moving. I know it's been a goal of ours the last couple years. We still have 3 open seats, maybe 2 after next month, so we still have room to get more talented, wonderful residents involved, but I'm very excited for what this committee is going to do over the next year or so. And then, of course, we had our Conshohocken Fire Department did Santa around town. They collected gifts for families in need, and just generally brought joy to the community. Maybe not Thomas in particular, but thank you to them. It's a very long day, and I know people are angry if they miss it, and sometimes they go back. So a real big thank you to our fire department for making that happen every year. And then last weekend was the Winter Wonderland at the community center, which was just awesome, like just packed to the brim. Our Parks and Rec director was here during budget time talking about how we're busting at the seams, and that's the kind of event where we're really seeing it. Santa, Daffy Duck was there, make your own cupcakes. It was just packed. There's like a band there, take home hot chocolate, like everything you could want from Winter Wonderland. So thank you to Lauren and our team up there for putting that on last weekend. And then finally we have our annual menorah lighting. It's Hanukkah is super late this year, so it's actually after Christmas. It's going to be on Thursday the 26th, and it'll be at Marywood Park at 5 o'clock, and then we will continue without a big ceremony for the rest of Hanukkah. Our team will light the lights, and that'll be at Marywood Park. So please come out. There'll be donuts and chocolate, and sometimes the rabbi has me say prayers. I don't. Well, we'll see what happens.
Praying this year?
Yes, but thank you to our team for also putting that on every year. That's it for me.
Mr. Frey?
Yes, I wanted to give a shout out to Borough Public Works, the fire department, everybody who put in the effort to start the demolition up on the Moore property. It was pretty impressive because it was there one day and gone the next. I mean, the noise was, I didn't even know it was gone, right? Yeah, that was crazy. So, I just a great job from what I understand. It was easily the safest way to do it because we didn't have to shut down any streets, cost effective, the whole 9 yards. So, just really, really A+ job from everybody involved in that. So.
Yes. Tonight, I wanted to thank Paul and Public Works again, and the police and the fire department, and for the drive-in movie up at the B-Field. I got a chance to go up and watch Home Alone and hang out with some of them, and it was a phenomenal night. Everybody seemed to have a really great time. It was definitely chilly, but it was great. The drones flew a little bit, and they did a great job getting in and getting out. So looking forward to it again next year. So thank you to all of them.
Just wish all the residents happy holidays and happy New Year, and see you next year.
Same here. Happy holidays, and don't eat too much, and just enjoy and be with family. And also thank you, Public Works and police, and anybody else who works hard for us.
Mr. Sarenbaum?
I don't know if I need to thank people, or I did want to just mention that we released the winners of the Holiday Light Competition, and in publicizing that a bit, we also had a lot of people say, post pics. Well, please, we have a very walkable borough. Go and enjoy the lights of your neighbors. That list would be some of the key houses to walk by, but I know, like, there were a lot of people who joined the competition who didn't win. Could only be 3 winners, like, for each ward. But there were lots of amazing and fantastic decorations. I even saw ones of people who, like, didn't join the competition, which was fantastic to see. So if you're looking to go see holiday lights, I encourage you to just take a walk around Conshohocken Borough.
Thank you. All right, so I just wrote a few words down. So this year went by pretty quickly for all of us, and as I reflect back on the events and our everyday activities, I'm just grateful to work and represent the residents of the Borough of Conshohocken. The team of individuals that I share this responsibility are sitting here with me tonight. You guys are truly a group of passionate, compassionate, hardworking servant leaders, and I'm proud to be part of the group here. I'm honored to share the responsibilities of leading our borough staff and administration and making Conshohocken the best place to live, work, play, and grow. You've all truly been an inspiration on this journey, and I'm very proud of everything that we've accomplished this year, and I can't wait to see what 2025 will bring for us. The holidays are meant to be a joyous time, so we want to indulge ourselves in things that make us feel happy, relaxed, and stress-free. For those of us that find the season not to be merry and bright and are struggling to find peace, you're not alone, and it's okay to not always be on top of your game. The most important thing that you can do if we're struggling during the holiday season is to pay attention to our own needs and do what feels best for ourselves. So in closing, may this beautiful holiday season fill your heart with love, your home with joy, and your life with love and laughter. So Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to all of you. Meeting adjourned.
That's a way to end it.